Tech Sideline, senior staff writer, lead football beat writer, Andy Bitter, covers Virginia Tech, and he joins Paul Catalina, David Smoke on 365 Sports. Andy, I want to start with, I saw a tweet last night. To get a little more heat, the Hokies changed practice locations Wednesday, working out on the field turf the marching Virginians usually use. On that switch and offensive line, so is this just to kind of change the monotony of fall workouts or practices?
But it had a dual purpose. It was doing that, trying to sort of break up the monotony of what you'd expect this time of year. But also, they have field turf, but it's on an indoor facility on their campus. So you get in there, it's shaded. So it's probably 10 degrees cooler than being outside. So they want to get outside on the field turf. That's what they're going to be playing on when they go to Vanderbilt in the opener. So it's just sort of get accustomed to what they might face when they go down to Nashville in a couple of weeks here.
Andy, what have you seen from Kyron Drones now in heading into year two as the starter?
I think he is primed for a really good season. He came on strong last year, started the last 10 games, I believe it was, after taking over the Rutgers game. And, just command of the offense, I think, is going to be really good. I think understanding, the connection with the offensive coordinator, Tyler Bowen here, and, getting on the same page with his receivers. It's the first full off season where he had as the starter where, get to throw those guys all off season, get on the same page. And, I think this offense is primed to take a big step forward as long as the offensive line continues to develop.
It's a good-looking kid. He was here. We saw him from Shadow Creek High School. His dad's a high school coach. What kind of personality have you been able to notice? He was pretty quiet but it was the backup. I always wondered if he should get more snaps, and unfortunately, he never did. Well, what have you learned about Kyron Drones?
Yeah, I think pretty quiet is an accurate description of him still. I think he's taken on some leadership responsibility, certainly as the starting quarterback, but he's not a demonstrative guy out there. Like, he works out in the off season with his personal QB coach, and he's out there working out with Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. And Shedeur and Cam are going back and forth talking trash the whole time. And Kyron is kind of the quiet one in the three, just going about his business. Like, he'll chime in every now and then when, both of them are talking about, you ran for, you guys had to run the ball all the time to win the bowl game. And Kyron turns around and is like, well, how'd you guys' bowl game go? He can't shot back with that one because neither of them, one didn't play in one and one lost the bowl game. So, I think it's that sort of response. Actually, I think both of them might not have played a bowl game. Either way, he shot back with a pretty good response to both of them. But, I think personality-wise, he's just perfect for this offense. He's just sort of a, put your head down, go to work kind of guy. And, that's what Brent Pry and the staff appreciates.
What has Brent Pry changed about the culture there that was kind of evident, especially down the backstretch of last year?
Yeah, I think more than anything, it feels like it's a fun program to be around. Those last couple Justin Fuente years, it just sort of felt like dread around the program all the time. And everybody was so serious about stuff. And I don't know if it's because of the job security issue and the COVID season was in there. So that was a weird one too. But it's like you saw the number of transfers they had out of the program. And it was a lot. And it was some significant guys too that went on to other places and played very well. Whereas, the guys that are leaving right now aren't really going and starring anywhere else. The main guys kind of want to stay in Blacksburg and play for this team. And, I didn't get the sense that was the case before. So I think it's just an overall general vibe about the program that's just more enjoyable to be around. And, if you can get those good players to stick around, they're going to do good things on the field eventually.
Andy, when looking at their schedule, nobody can be – it's not like Virginia Tech is Ohio State or Georgia, but they're good. But it does seem like this schedule gives them a chance to be, like, in the conversation. Your thoughts about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was the 7-6 team last year, so I still have to see them go out and beat like a good team before I believe that this is like for real, that this team could really be a contender. But non-conference schedule, they should go 4-0 on it. I think Rutgers is the toughest game, but Vanderbilt, Marshall, ODU, they should beat all three of those teams. And then you get the ACC play, and they miss a lot of the top teams in the conference. They play at Miami, and they have Clemson at home. But they don't play Florida State. They don't play UNC. They don't play Georgia Tech. Or they do play Georgia Tech. They don't play SMU. They don't play Louisville. They don't play NC State. I mean, just you can tick down the programs that are sort of being picked in the top half of the ACC, and there's just not a lot of games against Virginia Tech there. So that imbalance of the ACC schedule now with 17 teams, I think you really have to look at who you play each year when you're sort of projecting how these teams could do. And, if it clicks with Virginia Tech, I mean, you're looking at, two or three pretty major games. And if they win those, that might get them over the hump and make them a dark horse candidate for something here.
The highest team on their schedule, and again, this is based on preseason, is 14. The highest ranked team on their schedule is 14th and 19th, which it just kind of jumped out at me when I looked at that schedule just a few minutes ago. Andy Bitter with us, Tech Sideline with us on 365 Sports.
Yeah, at Miami, which I think people may forget because it's been so long, Andy, since both those teams were in the Big East and both those teams were at the top of the Big East. But that's a rivalry. That one used to get really, really lit, and it looks like maybe it could again. Do you think that we might see a revival of the intensity between those two?
I hope so, and I think the ACC hopes so, because that's sort of been one of the underlying things about why isn't this conference as respected as it could have been. I mean, since Miami got in the ACC, it hasn't been very good. It hasn't won a single ACC title, and then you look at Virginia Tech for the last 13 years, the program has been basically a 500 program, maybe slightly above that, but just doesn't really jump off the page at you. So. I think the ACC would very much like to have Florida State and Clemson who are clicking, and then have Miami and Virginia Tech who are also doing good things too. If you put forward those four teams and they're actually doing well, that's a really solid top half of the conference with some premier programs or ones that have been like that in the past. I think that would help the reputation of the league quite a bit if all those groups could get going at the same time.
Andy, do people not understand that Kyron Drones is more dual threat than people realize?
Well, if they don't, they're going to find out, because he's a load to bring down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at him and he's like,
he's a dude. He's a dude. Yeah,
225. He's a big guy. He's really well built, and not afraid to lay out a guy out in the open field. So I think he's emerging as a passer. I think he threw the ball better than I thought he would last year. Maybe downfield throwing is an area of his game that really needs to improve. But, he completely opened up this running game with the way he played. It was nothing. I mean, I think they had like 12 yards against Purdue or something like that. And he goes in and, by the end of the year, they top 300 yards in 3 separate games. I mean, the quarterback has a big reason behind that. But, he can throw the ball too. And they've got a pretty good receiving core that might be one of the best ones they've had here in a while. So, I think that's what's so interesting about this offense is you put a dual threat guy like that out there and hand him the keys. I think they can do some special things there.
What's the temperature in Blacksburg about the future of the ACC?
Sort of uncertainty. I think they're one of those schools that would love if the ACC would break up and they could have some options, but at the same time, I don't think they're guaranteed a seat at the table. And it depends on how big the SEC and the Big Ten want to get. Virginia is a state that neither one of them have. I know the latest round of expansions around about brands to get in the biggest brands in football, but there still is a cable model out there that's pretty lucrative. That if you can bring in new households in those states, it might be an attractive option. But not having that certainty of having a seat at the table if this thing were to break up, I think they're sort of holding back and letting Florida State and Clemson take all the heat with these legal challenges and kind of seeing how things play out after that.
Just looking at the records, the Frank Beamer years speak for themselves. He had numerous double-digit win seasons of 10 wins or more. In fact, I think at one point maybe he had 8 consecutive years where they won 10 games. That's happened once since with Fuente in 2016, 9 the next year. They've won 8 here, 6, 7. What's been missing?
That's a 8,000 word answer, probably. But Yeah, I think the culture kind of got away from them for a while. Just what this program was about, and just the head of the program. When you change it from a longtime coach like that to something new, I think there's going to be people that are struggling to adapt to what the new coach brought in, and this is how we used to do it the old way, and maybe the old way was more successful, certainly with the number of wins that they had there. But I also think that sometimes it just boils down to they haven't had that many great quarterbacks. Because you think about Virginia Tech back in the day, Michael Vick, Brian Randall, Tyrod Taylor, even Logan Thomas, with the success he had. And since Logan Thomas left, they sort of had one dude that really did it at Virginia Tech. Hendon Hooker did it at Tennessee after he transferred, but Gerard Evans in 2016, and that was the year they won 10 games. So, I can sit here and talk about culture and making it a fun place and, bringing back the 90s glory days on defense and stuff like that. Sometimes you just need a quarterback that can be a difference maker. And, honestly, I think they found a difference maker here in Kyron Drones, which is why, so many Hokies fans are looking forward to this season.
Andy, good stuff, man. Thanks for being a part of the show. Have fun. We'll get you on again. Hopefully they get off to a nice start and we have you on again pretty soon.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Andy Bitter with his Tech Sideline, covers Virginia Tech.